As games have become more refined at weaving emotionally complex stories with themes and plot points intended to resonate deeply, developers have likewise got better at using the interactivity of games to convey the rawness of these gut punches. These moments are the most effective when developers hold absolutely nothing back, turning interactive entertainment into something that's not necessarily fun. Major spoiler warnings are in effect because I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game moments you were supposed to hate. Number 10. Papers, Please. Choosing between food and heat. In Papers, Please, players take on the role of a checkpoint worker in a fictional totalitarian country. It's the player's job to decide which of the people who appear in front of their desk are allowed to enter and who get turned away at the border. However, this isn't as straightforward as it potentially sounds. The rules for entry become more convoluted each day, which consequently makes the required checks more time-consuming, with mistakes becoming easier to make. The more mistakes made, the less money players are awarded at the end of each shift. Over time, you can come away with less money than you started with. Things get worse when the players must also decide whether to use their earnings to pay for essentials like food and heat, or life-saving medicine for their family. Given how difficult the job becomes, though, this soon feels like an unwinnable task. As well as serving as a commentary on authoritarian regimes, Papers, Please likewise highlights the soul-crushing reality of working a thankless, low-paying job. Number 9. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 No Russian. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 made huge waves when it was released in 2009 for a multitude of reasons. The campaign was a fast-paced action spectacle, there were genuinely jaw-dropping revelations, and the multiplayer was better than ever. However, there was another reason this game got plenty of attention, and that was thanks to a controversial mission titled No Russian. In it, players took on the role of an undercover CIA agent who accompanies antagonist Makarov to a Moscow airport to participate in a mass shooting. When the elevator doors open, the terrorists open fire on the civilians, with you following suit. It's easy to see why this part of the game stirred up anger from the media at the time, despite Activision including an option to skip it entirely. The point is, though, that this level isn't supposed to be enjoyable. Whether players choose to fire their weapon or not, they're still forced to walk through the airport watching innocent people killed in cold blood. In stark contrast to the belief that this section encourages gun violence, the effect is the opposite. This is a truly harrowing level which reinforces the grim reality of attacks such as these. Number 8. Mafia 2 Going to Prison. After returning home from World War II, Vito Scaletta reunites with a lifelong friend who's since made inroads with the Clemente crime family. Through his friend's contacts, Vito begins to get some work for the organisation, eventually gaining a foothold within the criminal underworld. At this point, the player as Vito begins to earn some money that can be used to buy guns, cars, and even snazzy outfits. It's at this point, however, that Mafia 2 decides players aren't allowed to have nice things. Everything Vito has earned is taken away when he's sent to prison for stealing gas stamps. And this isn't the first time this happens either. Later, a house fire causes Vito to become penniless again. After working your way through the story to earn Vito's hard-earned wealth, having the game take it all away and force you to start over again on 2 separate occasions is understandably frustrating. However, these plot beats are nevertheless necessary in telling Vito's story. Vito's tale is a tragic one which underscores the risks of his chosen lifestyle. Despite being promised that the Mafia would be the solution to his problems, all it does is cause him more suffering. Number 7. Red Dead Redemption John's Last Stand. Throughout the dozens of hours spent in the weathered cowboy boots of John Marston in Red Dead Redemption, players become well acquainted with the grizzled cowboy as he seeks his titular redemption. Formerly part of the notorious Vandalin gang, Marston is no stranger to shady business and nefarious actions, but he wants to put that life behind him so that he can forge a new one with his wife and son on his own ranch. To get the life Marston wants, however, the Pinkerton Detective Agency need him to kill his former accomplices. Despite his past, John is a genuinely good-hearted person who's willing to do whatever he can for his loved ones. With the last of his former gang gone, John has finally earned the quiet life he's been dreaming of. Unfortunately, the Pinkertons arrive to erase all traces of their communication. An epic shootout at John's ranch leads to a last stand where players have a chance to take out as many agents as they can, but it will never be enough. Marston is killed in a hail of bullets, creating a landmark tragic death in gaming history. Number 6. Dark Souls Being Ambushed by the ASYLUM Demon. The first introduction to From Software's masterpiece is a handful of very weak enemies whose job is to teach newcomers the fundamentals of how to play. With only a broken weapon at this point to learn the basics, players will soon arrive in front of giant doors which signal the way forward. Upon entering, players are unceremoniously greeted by the ASYLUM demon, Dark Souls' first boss, who will easily pummel inexperienced players into the ground with a ludicrously oversized hammer. To those not expecting this ambush, trying to fight this boss in the absence of a working weapon proves to be a gigantic obstacle that's nearly impossible to overcome. Yet everything in Dark Souls exists to teach players something, with this encounter being a trial by fire into what playing the game is all about. Whether you discover the small door to escape the fight for now, persevere until achieving victory, or get flattened and forced into a rethink, this unfair fight is designed to make you strategize. Number 5. Metal Gear Solid 4: The Microwave Tunnel. Iconic game developer and certified madman Hideo Kojima is no stranger to pushing the boundaries of what video games can be. Especially when it comes to his Metal Gear Solid series, Kojima has experimented with some strange mechanics to create some unforgettably bizarre moments. But not all of these quirky set pieces are as fun to play as the boss fight with Psycho Mantis, with Metal Gear 4's microwave tunnel sequence being one such example. For Solid Snake to stop Liquid Ocelot from launching a nuke, he must inject a computer virus into Ocelot's warship. To get to the core, however, he must traverse a corridor protected by strong microwave radiation. As soon as Snake enters the corridor, he's immediately overwhelmed by the radiation's intensity. Walking through the tunnel is a grueling physical process for him, and Kojima underscores the arduousness of his exertion through the gameplay. Not only does Snake's strained pace give players a sense of his agony, but players also struggle alongside him by frantically mashing button prompts to keep him moving. Meanwhile, a split screen depicts Snake's allies battling for their own survival. It's an effectively intense scene, and you feel every second of it. Number 4. Hellblade: SENUA'S Sacrifice: Giving Up. Everything about the design of Hellblade is meticulously crafted to immerse players within the headspace of the titular protagonist as she makes her way into Helheim to save her lover's soul. The journey into Hell isn't going to be an easy one. Alongside the disembodied voices whirling inside her head, casting doubt upon her actions, Senua likewise comes up against other horrors and obstacles in her path. Her travels lead to an epic battle that stands between the protagonist and her goal, in which she'll face wave after wave of tough enemies. No matter how much she fights though, the enemies will just keep coming. The voices in Senua's head will begin to tell her to give up, but our determination to succeed will keep us fighting alongside her. We've come as far as her and have no intentions of stopping now. However, this is a fight that Senua just can't win. To progress past this section, we must stop trying and put the controller down. Giving into defeat is the exact opposite of what we're supposed to do in games. Senua's struggle, though, is a tangible lesson that sometimes failure cannot be avoided, no matter how hard we try. Number 3. PSYCHONAUTS 2: COMPTON'S Cook-Off. There is nothing that makes completing an objective in any video game more stressful than when developers include a time limit. This is exactly what happens in PSYCHONAUTS 2 when protagonist Raz enters the mind of Psychonaut founder Compton Ball and participates in a colourful cooking-based game show named Ram It Down. The goal is simple: collect, prepare and plate the necessary ingredients needed to make the required dish before the timer runs out. If you manage to present the meal to the sock puppet judges whilst the clock's still ticking, you'll be awarded with an alluring mystery prize. As the dishes become increasingly complex to create, meeting the deadline to claim the prize becomes a frustrating undertaking, but there was a good reason for this. Each of the minds Raz enters in this series highlights a specific area of mental health, with Compton's being used to represent the character's severe anxiety. While running around an obstacle course to appease overly critical judges is a creative and fitting metaphor for this issue, the developers likewise offer some advice on how to deal with being overwhelmed by having you take breaks between rounds. Number 2. A Plague Tale: Requiem: HUGO. After narrowly escaping the devastating rat plague at the end of the previous game, it's not long before siblings Amicia and Hugo de Rune are thrown headfirst into the chaos when the man-eating rats re-emerge to upend their lives once more. Surrounded by death and devastation, the pair set out on a mission to find a cure for the sickness that's slowly killing Hugo and finally put an end to the plague before it's too late. Much like the first game, Amicia and Hugo endure a harrowing ordeal which puts their survival and bond to the test. After going on this journey with them, it's impossible not to become emotionally emotionally invested in their plight. Being a plague tale though, things don't get any better for Amicia at the end. With the sickness now having taken over her brother, she realises that the only way to stop the plague is to kill him. Struggling to hold back tears, Amicia takes out her sling and players must take aim at the youngster's head before delivering the fatal blow. Killing a character that players have spent so much time with is always an ordeal, but this action crystallises the losses they've faced along the way into one last scene. Number 1. The Last of Us Part 2, The Final Showdown. Much like its predecessor, The Last of Us Part 2 held absolutely nothing back as it wove its gritty tale of revenge. With its visceral combat and subject matter that didn't really shy away from difficult themes, there are parts of this title that were simply unpleasant. After Ellie witnesses the death of her adoptive father Joel at the start of the game, she embarks on a deeply personal quest for revenge against those who have killed him. Ellie is single-minded in her goal throughout her journey, with each person she kills bringing her closer to ringleader Abby, who has her own reasons for doing what she did. Even when Abby spares Ellie's life, Ellie still can't rid herself of her desire for revenge. At the pair's next meeting, the stage is set for the fight that players have been waiting for, however things play out differently than expected. Moments away from getting her revenge, Ellie understands the meaninglessness of the violence and allows Abby to leave. She returns home to find her family is gone and that she's now unable to play her guitar. Though the finale is purposefully anticlimactic, the bittersweet gut punch it delivers is more powerful than any final boss fight. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of these video game moments did you love to hate? And of course, let us know of any others that would fit within this title. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.